Hello, today is Thursday, February 20th, 2025. I'm Tony Mangino from TC2, and this is Staying Connected. On today's podcast, I'm joined by Ben Fox, one of TC2's managing directors, and we're going to have a discussion about Network as a Service, or NaaS. So, Ben, NaaS gets talked about a lot, with suppliers seeming to be constantly presenting their NaaS propositions, and analysts getting excited about it, but it always seems rather nebulous as to what NaaS really is. Do you think you can shed some light on that?
Hi, Tony. Yeah, I'm certainly going to try, but I think I'm going to start by reinforcing your point that it never really seems to be clear what NaaS actually is. I think that's because NaaS, it's not a standard industry product. It's a term that a wide range of suppliers, they attach to products or propositions or even just specific commercial constructs that, I suppose to a lesser or a greater degree, are kind of purported to offer network services on a utility model. And so to further illustrate that point, I got some quotes here from providers describing NaaS on their websites. So I'll start, Tony, with our old friends at Verizon. So they say, Verizon's Network as a Service solution is a digital-first integrated solution connecting your users to applications and data across cloud, data centers, corporate offices, suppliers, and remote workers around the globe, enabling you to serve your customers faster. So that doesn't really say anything at all, does it? Really, it's kind of just a bunch of generic words about networking. So here's another one. Why NTT for Network as a Service? ? With the agility to quickly adapt to business demands, our networking capabilities can complement your existing infrastructure services and technologies to sharpen your competitive edge. Again, that doesn't really say anything but a bundle of marketing fluff. There is nothing in terms of how NTT actually provides anything as a service. But it's also true, Tony, the fact is that the analysts also aren't immune from using similar platitudes. So I'll end with what IDC says. As enterprises consider new network investments and evolving connectivity strategies, IDC predicts that enterprise NaaS models will continue to be a pivotal way to transform enterprise network deployments and operations.
Yeah, Ben, I agree those descriptions don't really help. Are there any, however, that do help?
Well, funnily enough, so the definition of NaaS that I found most accurate is from, of all sources, Wikipedia, which states the following. Network as a service is often used alongside other marketing terms, such as cloud computing. It is related to terms like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, and software-defined networking.
So what I'm getting here is that NaaS is really a marketing term.
I think that's exactly right. And actually, it's an overused marketing term in my view, and it gets attached to a wide range of networking supplier propositions. But of course, that happens because customers love the concept of as a service. So suppliers simply jump on that and append the words as a service to whatever product they happen to sell. And in the case of network suppliers, that results in the marketing term network as a service.
Okay, so perhaps we should talk about why customers love the concept of as a service. What do customers expect NaaS to be?
Good idea. So I think there are a few attributes that customers associate with as a service models. So firstly, buying technology as a utility, being able to turn it on and off, the ability to increase and decrease the capacity or the power or the bandwidth, what have you, and the ability to add and remove features and capabilities all at will. And in an as a service model, all that flexibility should go with a corresponding pricing construct that only charges you for what you use, and perhaps only charges you when you use it. And then finally, everything is covered. It's effectively plug and play. All the hardware, software, and services to support it and keep it running, that's all included. So my favorite analogy for as a service is the running water coming into my home. I can turn it on and off whenever I need. I have a water meter that measures how much I use and I'm charged accordingly. And if a pipe bursts in the street, the water company comes along and fixes it.
Well, Ben, are there any networking products that are truly as a service?
Well, I would say that cloud networking services that the cloud hyperscalers offer on their as-a-service platforms are truly as a service, but that only represents a small fraction of a typical enterprise's network infrastructure at this point. And then there are also various unified communications as a service and contact center as a service propositions out there that are cloud-based. And also SD-WAN technology pricing models are largely subscription-based and to an extent as a service. But the licensing models for those services tends to be based on multi-year commitments and are often prepaid, so really don't allow you to turn the services on and off as you need.
But what about something that turns my circuits and on-prem network infrastructure into an as-a-service model?
Well, I kind of think that that's where it all falls apart. Network circuits and hardware simply present inherent challenges to translate to an as-a-service model. So for instance, circuits typically charge monthly, but still tend to have 1-year commitments at least. Plus physical access circuit limitations typically prevent much in terms of dynamic bandwidth adjustments. Circuits really aren't sold on an as you use it basis. And as far as the equipment goes, networking equipment OEMs, they're accustomed to upfront purchases, even on software and subscriptions, not a usage-based charging model. But, that doesn't mean that suppliers don't try and create a commercial pricing construct that looks a bit like NaaS. A good example is HPE's GreenLake for networking service packs. They seek to convert CapEx purchases to OpEx and also bundle in optional managed services. But even then, there's a significant lock-in period so the cost of the deployed equipment can be recouped. It's not a true as-a-service utility.
So, Ben, is true NaaS destined to always be unreachable?
Well, good question. And I think since we've established that NaaS itself is such a nebulous term, I'm going to give you an equally nebulous answer, which is I think NaaS has to be sort of treated as a philosophy as much as a product or proposition. It's the concept of buying a bundle of network services and products that someone else is assembling into the specific network and infrastructure and connectivity that you need, and then for which you negotiate an entirely bespoke pricing and commercial model. And the systems integrators and the carriers will absolutely do that for you if that's what you want, and will provide you with that custom bundle of network hardware and software and circuits and the associated managed services. And that's exactly what they're trying to describe in those quotes we started with. But you can't really expect that it's going to be sold to you as a utility that you can simply turn on and off as you want.
Good answer, I think, but either way, it sounds like a custom bundle like that would be complicated to negotiate.
Yeah, definitely. Whenever multiple components, which all have different underlying pricing and commercial constructs, when that's all baked into a pricing model that seems simple on the outside, there's almost always a huge amount of complexity on the inside. And often what happens in such models is that the component with the least flexibility and the most onerous terms ends up being the lowest common denominator, and the entire custom NaaS bundle becomes less flexible than if the underlying products and services had been purchased in a more traditional manner. And of course, that's the exact opposite of what customers desire and are really seeking from NaaS. So I suppose it's important to be careful what you wish for, Tony.
Thanks, Ben. Great discussion today. And if you would like to learn more about NaaS, or if you'd like to discuss other ICT needs with Ben or me or any of our LB3 and TC2 colleagues, please give us a call or shoot us an email. You can also stay current by subscribing to Staying Connected, by checking out our websites, and by following us on LinkedIn.